Welcome to the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, where we explore the unexplained and mysterious phenomena that have occurred throughout the state of Michigan and beyond.
From UFO sightings to ghostly encounters, we delve deep into the stories, the evidence, and the theories behind these strange events.
We are your hosts. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Wayne.
We are an educator duo that after an encounter with a triangular UFO in 2018 in Michigan, we decided to investigate UFOs and the paranormal. In this podcast, we will be speaking with eyewitnesses, experts, and researchers to uncover the truth about some of the most intriguing cases of paranormal activity in and around Michigan.
Our goal is not to convince anyone of the existence of these phenomena, but rather to provide a platform for discussion and exploration. So, buckle up and join us on this journey down the paranormal rabbit hole.
On an escalator.
Hey, hello, people of Earth.
And that's how we start things tonight.
That's it. It is Monday, not Sunday. It is Monday, the 1st of September, 2025, and we're broadcasting from our secret bunker deep within the shadow of the great Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. And tonight, we're talking full disclosure at the government level with our special guest, once again, and the guy who knows it all, really, and has been digging into this, and I can't think of a better person to have on, is Stephen Bassett. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into this. Michelle, tell us about his background. Go.
Well, Stephen Bassett has spoken to audiences in 20 countries about the political implications of UAP ET phenomena and disclosure, the formal confirmation by heads of state of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. He is co-founder of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance and executive director of Paradigm Research Group, a nonprofit providing education, consulting, analysis, and political activism for a post-disclosure world. His advocacy work has been well covered by national and international media, including CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Washington Post, and the New York Times. Bassett has appeared in many documentary films, and his lectures and interviews are well represented on YouTube. Mm-hmm. In 2013, PRG organized and conducted a citizen hearing on disclosure at the National Press Club in Washington. In November of 2014, PRG launched a 2-year political initiative out of Washington, D.C. that injected the ET issue into the 2016 presidential campaign. In December of 2023, Steve co-founded the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance in Los Angeles, a new media-centric organization aiming to align those working within the UAP ET research arena with writers, directors, producers working across every facet of the global entertainment industry. PRG is presently working to help bring about ever more comprehensive congressional hearings in the U.S. House and Senate for a growing list of UAP witnesses.
And we need it.
Yes. Yes, we do.
All right. So without further ado, let's go on and bring the man of the hour, hopefully about an hour and a half, Stephen Bassett. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
I've got to get my chair up here. Wait a minute.
Hey, welcome back.
I'm in the basement. What's going on here? Let's settle back.
There we go.
It's looking good. All right, Michelle, those aliens behind you, they're a little scary.
That's what Wayne said too.
Yeah, they're scarier than
he
my
said
guy.
that they creep him out.
Yeah. I wouldn't want them to show up in my room. Now, Wayne, you're alien, no big deal. Tell them to drop by anytime.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a mouth. I mean, I can't really see one, so
it's fine. I don't. Yeah. Hey, that could be an asset. Okay.
Right. Well, Stephen, things seem to be getting very busy right now around this UAP UFO disclosure thing. A lot of people out there high up now talking about this. So how are things? First of all, how are you? We haven't talked in a while. It's good seeing you. You look good, very just dapper and ready to go. I know you've been traveling. So how are you? But how are things looking from your perspective on all of this stuff?
Yeah, sure. I look fabulous on the outside, but inside, Man, I'm telling you,
You're even better, right?
It's a nightmare in there. It's these are complicated times, and I got way too much time on my hands, so I'm paying attention to way too much. Probably should go to Aruba for a couple of months, but there's no way. Something could break at any moment. We are at a very clear inflection point starting on September 2, which, if I'm not mistaken, is
Tomorrow.
after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is it tomorrow? It's tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot went into getting to this point. A lot has happened, but overall, things tend to build on what's come before, and that's the way you want things to go. Even if it's slow, you'll take it, right? As long as you're moving toward the finish line. You don't have to be sprinting. One step will get you there at a time. So, in spite of all the chaos going on in the world and in the country and in Washington, D.C., where I happen to be sitting right now, we've had a steady progress forward championed by some very determined people, most of which are of a Republican persuasion, but there are a number, of course, that are also Democrats. It's a bipartisan process, which is one of the reasons it keeps moving forward, right?
Yep.
Because partisan stuff goes like this. I want to go here, and the other side says, no, you don't, right? Or the other side says, I want to go here, and the other side says, no, you don't. But in a bipartisan process, you get to go together, right? And that's what's happening. So here's what's on the table. It's a very nice menu. Tomorrow, starting tomorrow, and through the rest of the week, I don't think it'll take longer than that. The Senate of the United States of America is going to vote on the third resubmission of essentially the very same UAP Disclosure Act. The one that was introduced in 23, kind of cut in half, introduced last year as an amendment, had to pull it because it was blocked. They're bringing it back a third time. It is the total package. Essentially everything you need in the bill to responsibly bring forward everything, eventually everything the government has in its secret files, secret bases, secret everything. That bill takes care of in a responsible way. How it's going to be done, the checks, the balances, review panel, all of this stuff. That's all we need. That's basically it. You could tweak it a little bit, but overall, that's the thing we've been waiting for. The legislation. We had not had a piece of legislation in the history of the issue until 2020, and it went active in 21. So 2020, right? That's 73 years. No legislation, and then we've had one after another after another. We've had four now. Okay, so the UAP Disclosure Act, and by the way, Disclosure Act. Now, I think Schumer and Rounds probably were using disclosure in this case in the what we'll call the revealing process, though I know they are aware that disclosure is a big term out in our world, our territory, has been for some time. Maybe not the disclosure that I use, which is a capital D proper noun, which refers not to the revealing. Well, it's a revealing, but a specific confirmation from the head of state, which would be the president, that whatever the wording is, we're not alone. Okay? That will be, as far as I can tell, the most profound moment in the history of the human race. Could be surpassed going forward because the future looks very interesting. And that's disclosed now, but because it's part of the name of the act, it is a capital D. So I'm going to take half, right? I think I'm going to think that Chuck and Mike were going, all right, little paean to the early movement, and then a little something for Steve. Capital D disclosure. I define it. It's my definition. You want another definition? Tough. So that is going to take place this week. Next week, very shortly thereafter, probably next week, the bill is going to be taken up by the House. But unlike previously, I believe, it will have a sponsor, which means that the bill is going to be submitted for a vote or consideration to vote with a sponsor. Now, why does this matter? The way it works, if you got a bill you'd like to have the House vote on, right? Yeah, you got to run it by the Speaker of the House. And if the Speaker of the House doesn't like it, it's like, we're not going to vote on it. So it works, okay?
Grease some palms.
Now, if the bill has a sponsor, that's helpful, right? If it has 10 sponsors, that's very helpful. If the sponsor is of the same party as the speaker, that's helpful. And so whether or not other sponsors join Congressman Burleson, who's agreed to sponsor this and has announced it publicly, there's a chance it might be passed. What would that mean? Well, first of all, if they pass it, like with the Senate, though people generally don't follow the Senate vote, that you can find it, right? Every single member of the House, and we're talking now 435 people, have got to do a up or down vote. And it will be publicly watched, literally, as it happens. And it's in the public domain. That's another level of commitment. And so that could very well happen. And if they pass it, since it's been passed in the Senate, I think it goes directly to the president for consideration. Possibly not to be signed till later in the year because it's for the next year NDAA, but at some point it's going to be signed. And we will have the legislation needed to really get the disclosure, small d process going. Now, the first bill was cut in half, but that half still had some aspects of moving forward, and stuff has been coming out, not a lot. It's been brought over to the archive, and it's actually accumulating in the UAP archive at the National Archives. There is a UAP archive now. Yeah, it took 70-some years to get it. And so it's kind of happening, but I assure you there's nothing going over there that's going to rock your world. And so that would be happening in the second week. Now, in the meantime, on September the 9th, which would be in the second week, we will have the third, what I call full robust hearing on this subject. There have been another 4 or 5 that were sort of hearings. Somebody came in, testified to somebody in the House, somebody in the Senate, maybe under oath, maybe not. So they're sort of hearings, but we had 2 serious hearings. That was Grush, and then that was the November 23rd hearing last year with Elizondo and Gold and Gallaudet and Schellenberger. All right. Well, we're going to have one on the 9th. Now, here's the other thing you need to know. Not surprisingly, the process of getting to disclosure in terms of legislation, in terms of hearings, is not simple. Even relatively prosaic matters can still end up in a labyrinthine maze to try to get there. The legislation process is not for the weak of heart. And so it's complicated, right? So here's the thing. This is a little of the history that's telling you where it landed, and it's good. It's good history. Okay, so the House subcommittee is where the action begins, with the hearing, of course, of Grush. And what led to that hearing was the fact that certain members of the Oversight Committee, who were also on the subcommittee, just grabbed the issue, and ran with it. And the first one really was Burchett, very conservative Republican from Tennessee. And he just jumped into it, both feet. I actually talked to him in the airport once and thanked him for what he was doing. He said he was going to take me to lunch. It hadn't happened yet. It's all right. It's all right. So he's saying this is real. They're here. We have the tech, and he's doing it on News Nation and Fox News. Okay, so this is significant.
See, that's disclosure for me. I've seen the craft. We've had.
No, he didn't say that. He did not say that.
I'm saying that.
Oh, you've seen the craft. Okay.
Yeah, we've had our experience, and sure. All the people we've talked to over the last 5 years. I'm convinced 100%. It's a done deal. What disclosure for me is I want them to admit, capital D disclosure equals they have, and we were lucky enough to get recovered craft, and we've been using that tech. That's what I want told to me. I don't, everything else I've had, the stories and our experience and other people's experiences and stuff. It's like, it's a done deal, guys. I mean, just people at the top have to come out and not think of it from a national security standpoint and the next big weapon, but where can we go with this tech? I mean, where can we go with the new technology and things? It doesn't have to be an F-47 or whatever, and drones and all of this stuff. What else can it be?
Sure.
And that's for me. I mean, especially with the people we've had on recently who've had or they still have the alien. I don't want to say alien. The metal of off-Earth creation. Let's put it that way. It's gone through all the test stress. It's been to Battelle, it's been Elizondo, and Puthoff have had it, and they've done all their tests on it. Ron James has it, and he's doing a documentary on it coming out soon. They have the metal. It was dropped by a craft over their house, and they recovered it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have it, and they tested it right on TV. There was a TV show, 2013, about it. And they said it was manufactured off the planet. There's rare earth, or there's isotopes of non-earth origin in this material. And it's metal that's been doped. I was told that's the proper term. It is completely striated, put together. It's manufactured, and Battelle took a huge chunk off of it. And a guy here in the University of Michigan has a piece of it, because when the guy that owned it took his finger and he had water on his finger and he rubbed it on part of the metal, it turned invisible. That's 100%. And I think, what do you say? Gillibrand was given a piece of it by Ron James, the filmmaker for MUFON. And so for me, that's the nail in the coffin. That's it. I mean, and they've had this since let's see, he received it
2005 or 2006.
Yeah. That they've had this material. That's what I want them to admit. They've had this material and they sent it off. They've been backwards engineering it. And now we've got ridiculous amount of technology. And I'm sorry, I needed to throw that out there, because we're very excited that we were able to have these people on our podcast and come on our show who had these experiences. And he's sent me pretty much everything. I have the reports from the metallurgist. I have the emails from Elizondo introducing this guy to Arrow and his family to Arrow. It's the real deal.
We've had a crazy month and a half.
That's why I wanted you to come on here, because it has been so crazy with the amount of stuff that has been thrown at us from everybody. I was like, we got to get Stephen on here, because he's down there. He's in the trenches with those people that now have pieces of this metal that have been tested, and the isotopes are not from this planet. So,
not in the trenches with them. There are some people in the trenches, but I'm not down with any of them. I'm standing on the top of the edge of the trench, looking down, trying to see what's going on. Let me provide some perspective. Remember, I'm an activist, not a researcher.
Right.
I'm not a journalist, and I'm not a witness. All three of those individuals who want to engage this issue and come forward, they have protocols they have to follow. If you're a journalist, you've got protocols you have to follow. And if you're a researcher, there's protocols. If you want to present stuff, you have to present it in a certain way. Otherwise, people just put us off to the side. And if you're a witness, particularly if you're a government type witness, you have a number of protocols you have to follow to not get in trouble. I don't have any protocols. I'm an activist. In other words, I don't know how old you are, but there was a movie long ago. It's famous for the line, "We don't need no stinking batches." Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm 55, so.
Yeah. So I can say what I want, when I want, where I want, and how I want. Okay. And as an activist, I'm looking at the larger picture of where things are going. And so let me make a few points that will help people, I think. One, the issue has been proven already many times over, right? It's lock solid true. I know it's true, zero doubt. And the only reason why it's not being acknowledged formally as true is because the government doesn't want to be acknowledged, and so it has managed to suppress that from happening. All right, so it's been true. Now, the process leading to disclosure, everybody has something they want, that they need to want that, they want to see that, they want, and so forth. And they're kind of confusing the political capital D disclosure process, which is also a process, and the small d disclosure. Okay. And so if what you want is, say, to be able to actually see the crash vehicles being filmed by ABC News or something, and that's disclosure for you, well, you're going to have to wait. All right. But so everybody has something different they want. But the fundamental disclosure movement, capital D, everybody wants, and that's what we have to get. Everybody should want the confirmation from the president, or whether the president chooses to go first and get one of the greatest political legacies of all time, or whether the president goes after another head of state does it. But very quickly, all of the heads of state that are kind of in the know, and there are quite a few, will join in, and it'll be a world thing. Everybody's going to know we're not alone. The whole planet finds out we're in the post-disclosure world. All right, that is what everybody should want, and that is what the goal of the movement. And everything I'm saying tonight is specifically about that. Okay, that's the focus. This witness, that witness. I really don't care that much to the extent that what they're doing actually is driving the process in the moment. All right, and so there are a number of witnesses out there that it's nice that they're there. They got something interesting, but they're not really driving the process. I can't focus there. So that's something else. And then, well, let me then go back to where I was getting at. So we have the hearing coming up. 3 more witnesses. They're not the witnesses they wanted. They were really trying to get, I think, stronger. Nothing negative about the ones that are going to be there. But things have gotten a little shaky, a little weird. We're getting some pushback from the DOD, taking some measures to try to hope to stave off the inevitable. The Wall Street Journal on, I don't know when that came out, June the 5th, I forget, was a pathetic attempt by the DOD to try to push back. And the Wall Street Journal took the bait, wrote the articles. They'll have to apologize some point. But and the witnesses get a little skittish. And plus everything else going on in the world and in the country, it's not conducive to being comfortable about engaging the public space in DC. And so they're stepping back for a while. I'm not saying they're not going to come forward at some point, just they're stepping back. But they got 3 witnesses. They're going to have a good hearing. Right. And the other thing that I was mentioning in terms of the process that led to the where we are is the oversight subcommittee goes ahead and has the Grush hearing. That was triggered by Grush coming forward on June the 5th. That's the date. June the 5th, 2023. Major event. Ross Coulthard did the interview. Leslie Kane and Rep Blumenthal did the article on the debrief. I think it was a debrief. And boom. And so that was June the 5th. July I think it was the 9th or something. I think it was the 9th. Whatever. And they have the hearing. So it didn't take long to get him in and have a hearing. They had Fravor. They had Graves. Big deal. Huge event. I was there in the audience. Okay, fine. And so now we move forward a little bit more. Right. And we get a second hearing. And that second hearing was also important. The first hearing was essentially, I think, chaired by, might have been Burchett, right? But the others were there, Mace, Luna, and so forth, and Burleson. The second hearing was chaired by Mace. All right, fine. Right. All right. And then the next day, then we go quite a while without a hearing. And I'm wondering if they're going to do another subcommittee hearing, but something else was in the works because things were going so well that they decided to make a very bold move. And by they, I mean Comer, who is the chairman of the Oversight Committee. And so what he does, I think it's for the first time ever, I think, he says, I'm going to set up a secrets task force. And so he announces they're setting up with underneath, as part of the Oversight Committee, a declassifying federal secrets task force. That name leaves nothing to guess, okay? And that was a major move. And we had Burchett and we had Mace. He makes Luna the chair of that. So now she is taking center stage. And so they then announce their portfolio. And it's basically everything that people want right now. JFK records, RFK records, MLK reality, and the Epstein files, and UAP. Okay. And some people jumped on that, meaning, well, why is UAP last? It's more important than all of those others, which I happen to think is true. But the reason they put it last is because the president had promised the other four, not the UAP. And so I put it last. Doesn't mean it's not going to get action. It just means it's last. So now you got a juggernaut there that's now dealing with very, very heavy stuff. Luna's in charge, and now they're getting the action. And we're waiting for the next hearing, and we know it's going to be by that task force, right? And so that's big deal. Time goes by, but eventually Luna, as far as I know, gets overwhelmed by what she's dealing with. She's getting the JFK documents, but it's not easy. She's obviously still trying to work to get the RFK documents and the MLK documents. But then the Epstein files blow up. The whole Epstein issue blows up. And now she's really got a massive task on her hand. And so she basically turned over the UAP portfolio to Burleson. Fine. So you see how the whole committee is kind of, the original subcommittees kind of getting involved, you see? And these are all Republicans. That's okay. That's all right. But they're not, there's Democrats involved, and they're not throwing any shade. Nobody's throwing shade at each other in this issue.
Yeah, that's right.
And so Burleson comes in. Excellent choice. He's very grounded, basic guy, very, very nice, very popular in his district, very conservative. Don't get me wrong. He won with a 73% turnout, 73% of the vote. All right. And he's very committed to the issue. He's even and more open-minded, frankly. In other words, he's really taken it on. He's looking at everything. Doesn't mean he's embracing everything. And I've had the opportunity to have dinner with him, and I've talked with him, and I think it was the perfect choice. And so he is going to chair the task force hearing now set on the 9th. Now, I'll be there. I'll be in the room, but I don't know. One of the witnesses I think I know is going to be there, and I know what they're going to be talking about. The other two I don't know. Is it going to rock our world? No, I don't think so. But is it going to add more gravitas and substance to the evidentiary or the hearing base under oath, right? Is it going to generate a lot of media, which has fallen off lately? Yes, it is. All right. It's going to take us further down the road. And it's happening exactly between the two things where the one bill is getting voted on the Senate, and we may see the other bill voted in the House. And so what I'm trying to say is by mid-September, we could be in a whole different place. It's looking very, very promising, and that is what we can look forward to. So I'll take a moment here and let you go, and then I got some other things to go to.
Well, I think what you lined out is a perfect example, though, with all those different things like the Epstein file and everything else, how it's always like a quid pro quo with DC. Oh, we'll do this, but you got to throw this on there too. And I promise this and this and that. It just can't be one thing. Like, can we just get somebody to work just on disclosure with no hangups, no nothing, just dig in there. And I know Burchett is interested in it because of the money situation. Where'd all this dark money go?
That's not the only thing he's interested in. And it kind of overlaps with the deep state stuff.
Yeah.
And he's into that. I mean, he's a tiger. He is a tiger. I like this guy, right? Yeah. And he's a down-home guy. He doesn't use fancy words. And he and Luna and Mace and Burleson, certainly Schumer, Rounds, Gillibrand, these members of our Congress are going to have a very substantial and long historical legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, considering all of that being said, and I don't know if you were going to go down this road or not, but now you have just recently, Paulina Luna on Joe Rogan talking about she's seen pictures of these things and she's convinced in other dimensional beings. Maybe you can touch on that. But then there's Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI.
That's right.
And she's talking about she's got her thoughts on it and stuff, but she can't really go into it. And then there's JD Vance, who's quote unquote obsessed by the UAP topic and phenomenon. I mean, this seems like, and I didn't think we were going to get anywhere near this year, but when you look at the group of people, and just like you said, Burleson and all of these other guys, it just really seems like we're really going to get somewhere this time.
We are. We're all going to get somewhere.
And I think it's going to be out of this world, no pun intended.
But you brought up an area that I've gotten into big time. I've been talking about this at length. It's getting pretty strong reaction, a lot of views. I'm trying to be very careful.
Okay.
But I'm serious. Okay, I'm very serious. So I'm
Okay.
now going to give you a scenario which I happen to believe is very substantive and well supported. And I will preface this by saying you might be a little twitchy when you listen to people talking about anything political and you're looking for that partisan angle. I'm not partisan here. I'm gonna be telling you something in a very nonpartisan way. And if you detect
So a
anything
trigger
partisan,
warning is what you're telling me.
yeah, it's a warning. Okay, so here is something that I have come to conclude, not out of thin air. And I'm gonna keep repeating this because eventually I hope it gets to the White House. Whatever. Anyway, so we're in the new. This is the first year of the new administration. The first term of the president, the issue came up a few times. It was known that Don Jr. was interested.
That's right.
There was some rumors he'd gotten a briefing, maybe a little briefing, something like that. Nothing huge, but still, it was kind of in play. But there was a lot of other things going on, and ultimately, not much happened. Now Biden comes in, and well, it's like a sudden change. And while the issue made progress, there was virtually nothing that I could see connected really to the White House and the president. Nothing of significance. And so we just moved forward. We're making progress. Now, the president returns, our current president returns to office. And he's had 4 more years after leaving office, free to do whatever the hell he wants, meet with whoever he wants or whatever. And if he wanted to kind of look into the issue, look into the UAP stuff, what's going on there, what's happening. And of course, he's seeing things happening, right? So he's seeing Grush come forward, but he's not having to deal with it as president. He's just watching it. So he's probably talking to some people. Lord knows how many discussions happened in those 4 years where this topic could have been brought up. Okay, fine. So, but now he's about to take office again, second time. Big deal. Inauguration was, as always, on January the 20th. And leading up to that, something happened which really got my attention. What was that? It was this. His son, Don Jr., has a podcast. It's called Triggered. It's good. He's a good podcaster. Knows what he's doing. Of course, he's been in the public arena forever. No big deal. Got a substantial following, obviously. Plus, his father promotes his podcast, right? Sure. That doesn't hurt because his father has a very big following. And so 5 days before the inauguration of his father, he chooses to bring on Ross Coulthart and Louis Elizondo for the whole 2 hours to talk about what? You know what? And I knew instantly that is not an accident. It's not like he booked them, a year and a half ago before his father even won the election or something, right? And it just turned out that they were booked just before the inauguration. Who could have thought? No, it had to be deliberate. Why? Well, if you're going to make a move on something of this magnitude, it would be helpful to know where the people are. What would they think about it? So you would test the waters, right? Maybe read the room. And the beauty of a podcast is, one, it's not official. All right. And of course, he's not president yet, so it's definitely not official. It's not official. And it airs. And then there's comments. You can read the comments. You can also go online and you could see the social media reaction to it. You can get a pretty good idea what people think about that happened. Okay. You read the room. Fine. File it away. And so I put a note in it. I said, that's very interesting. And then off we go for this year, which has been, let's just say, an interesting year. And so and I'm doing my thing and we're making progress. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, something happens that really got my attention very quickly. It was bada bing, bada bam, bada boom, bada bam. And you talked about it. Boom, podcast. Not some huge one, basic podcast. I don't think they had many. Reasonable number of subscribers. The vice president turns up. Now, the vice presidents generally don't do a lot of podcasts, but it's getting, everybody does podcasts now. So the vice president turns up on this podcast. Okay. And the ET issue comes up, or the UAP issue comes up.
Yep.
Now, for all my future statements, let me say this. And this is true of everything that happened during the Clinton campaign for the presidency in 2016. Okay, when you or your husband, you or the or your former president husband or your top aide or whatever the hell, or a vice president or whatever, goes on something like that. I'm not talking 60 Minutes. I'm not talking ABC News on Sunday. I'm talking a podcast. If you don't want something to come up, it doesn't come up. And if you want it to come up, it comes up. That's the way it is. Okay, right? So they're not really journalists, right? They're podcasters, whatever the hell that means. So he allowed it to come up and he speaks to it. You know, a little thing here, a little thing there. And I'm going, well, that's interesting. And then he says this. And this is what should have gotten everybody out of their seat. The vice president of the United States does something no other vice president has done, no other president has done, and says, I'm obsessed with UFOs. Not technologically advanced, not what I am obsessed, not UAPs, UFOs. And I'm going, hello. Okay, so fine. And that generates a whole bunch of articles. They're all up on my print media archive at paradigmresearchgroup.org. Go find it, print media archive. It's boom, just all these articles. Okay, fine. I'm loving it. I'm putting all those in there. A few days go by. And the director of national intelligence, fairly important job, it's pretty high up there. It's cabinet level. It's way up there. Goes on a talk show. I mean, a podcast, rather. Not a huge one, not a famous one, but a podcast. A couple of nice ladies there chatting. Tulsi Gabbard. And she lets the subject come up. And it comes up. And she speaks about it. Little here, little there. Nothing really that grabs you. But she's not blowing it away. That's for sure. She's saying some things which indicate clearly she's aware, she's paying attention, maybe dealing with it. And I noted that. All right. That was pretty significant. And then, okay, about 6 days later, the ball really drops. And that's when Paulina Luna, who was part of the subcommittee hearings, who eventually becomes chairman of the Secrets Task Force, which indicated that the JFK, RFK, MLK, Epstein stuff was kind of, they're working on that. She's already assigned the UAP stuff really to Burleson. But she goes on Rogan. Now, going on Rogan is not the same thing as going on any of the podcasts in general that we think about or know about. It is a mega cast, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The president got elected partially because he went on that podcast. Vice president's gone there. All kinds of heavy duty people are on there. He is the man. Okay. Yep. So that's a big deal. You don't go on that podcast and say anything unless you want it to be known worldwide within about 30 days. And so she goes for 2 hours and she talks about this and that and everything else. But what she does talk about that matters, she talks about the UAP issue. Now, remember, she was on the subcommittee. She got in 1 or 2 skiffs. Some she couldn't get in. She's had talks with witnesses. She's in the heart of the damn thing for months and months and months, going back a year and a half. And so she starts talking about, well, I talk with people inside and I had this meeting, that meeting. I've seen this documents, probably basically classified. And whatever, I'm going to assume anything that she said, she was okay to say. She might have stepped out of the protocol, maybe, but let's assume that it was all okay. In fact, if it was allowed, that's even better. And before she's done, she says, I've seen the documents that show that these are vehicles. These are non-human vehicles. Okay. I've seen the documents, we've got bodies. And then she says, and this is what I love, and this is how far things have gone. She says, well, look, the people I'm talking to, they're kind of leaning toward the fact that these are interdimensionals. All right, interdimensionals. Okay.
Oh,
now,
boy.
people will say, well, that's kind of, what are you talking about? Look, here's the deal. Do I think they're interdimensionals? No. I think they're star to star. But the fact is, if they are interdimensional, that is far more of a problem for the human race than if they're star to star. Okay, I'm sorry. And far more of a problem for the Department of Defense. Okay, because if it is true, and I don't think it is, in one case, you're dealing with entities that can travel great distances in a short amount of time and then come here and fly around and do what they have to do, set up a base and so forth. And that's how they're going to engage us. And we need to deal with that and understand that. On the other hand, if they're interdimensional, they can come out of anywhere at any time. They could show up in your podcast right now. They could come into my room, okay? They could show up at Christmas time and take the packages from under the tree. They can come from anywhere. That is not helpful. That is not making the DOD's task of, quote, protecting people in the nation better. It makes it unbelievably bad, if not impossible. It is scary. And so, whoa. But she goes there. Why? Because that's what she was, that some of the people that she was talking to went there. It's possible that some of the people she's talking to didn't go there. The point is, this is such an innocent example. The woman is trying to tell you something. I'm talking with these people. And so I am going, hello, the head of the Secrets Task Force has just said to 20 million people minimum that will see it, if not more, and in live and then archived. But beyond that, it'll go around the world. She just said, hey, yeah, it's real. And go, what is going on here? That is not supposed to be happening. And I'm thinking, well, why? How do you get Vance, Gabbard, and Luna in a span of 15 days hitting this issue on podcasts and building for each one, and then the other one goes out on the podcast that helped elect your president? I have only one answer to that question, and it's this. Coupled with the Don Jr. podcast before the inauguration, it is clear to me that the White House is really testing the waters, reading the public in the room, and gauging what the response would be if the president ends this embargo, this truth embargo, walks out in the East Room, whatever, and just says, yep, I've confirmed everything you've been hearing. And yeah, we're not alone. We've got the bodies, we've got the craft, and very smart people are going to be taking your questions very soon, but not me, because he would be insane to take any questions at that if he even has any press in the room, because he hasn't got the level of answers. But he's just committed disclosure. It's done right then. And I'll tell you, the nature, and I wouldn't have said this 5-6 years ago, but the nature of things now, interestingly enough, is that he could go on Joe Rogan and do it, and it would be the same thing as doing it in the Oval Office. That's it. It's done. It's formal. It's the president. It goes around the world even faster. And so I think that is exactly what is going on. So, whoa.
It's like a pilot for a TV show, right? They bring in your group of people to watch it and see, so that, yeah, I could see it as like they're dipping their toe into the water to see, is this going to be it or not?
Testing the water. And the public's reaction has been fine. These haven't been trashed on social media much, as far as I know, and the articles are not making a big deal out of it. In fact, nobody's even talking about it that way except me. That's fine. And nobody's calling me up and going, Steve, you need to stop saying that, or
you need to stop talking,
bad
Steve.
things will happen to you. So let's say I'm right. Okay. Why would they be doing this now? Okay.
There you go.
Good point. Okay. There are two fundamental reasons that I think make sense and are justified by circumstances. One, if you're staring down a very, very difficult situation that is coming your way, it could be very ill health, or it could be something else. Anything that is going to cause you a lot of trouble. And there's really no way to get around it. I mean, it's going to happen. Okay. You can't just make it disappear. The one option you have is to do something that is not only a major diversion away from this dilemma, buying time, okay, which would be good, which if it's a big enough deal, it's going to buy time, but it's also going to mitigate. And in this case, I'm using mitigation in this way. If you've got a real problem you're going to have to deal with, it's going to cause a big stink, But then you go and do something really significant, very important, that people absolutely are thrilled about. The chances are they're going to be less offended by that stink. They're going to be more likely to forgive. And that is non-trivial, right? It could make a very bad thing not so bad, all right? But it's better than just that. Mitigating also means this. You have done something really important. In this case, extraordinary. Something that no head of state, including 13 other presidents, was willing to do, both Democrat and Republican. Nobody could do it. For whatever reason, couldn't do it. And you did. You ended the truth embargo and took the world into the post-disclosure era. You've just done one of the most important things a politician has ever done. It's an unbelievable political legacy, almost a guaranteed Nobel Prize. I'm serious. It's a guaranteed Nobel Prize. All right.
Yep.
And no matter what happens after that, you will always have that. You will walk out the door with that Nobel Prize under your arm and that legacy in front of you. Now, that is a very powerful basis for why you would seriously consider that. I am suggesting that's exactly what's going on at the White House. And then the question is, will the president take advantage of this thing that's lying on his desk? He could pick it up anytime he wants or not. And I'll add one other thing. If another head of state goes in front of the citizens of their country, confirms that we're not alone and we have an ET presence or whatever, advanced technological species, or whatever they're from, and backs it up with, I'm sure, some nice evidence, and our president goes second, none of that benefit is there at all. In fact, it's somewhat worse. The one that goes first, regardless
wins
of who they are, or what their overall legacy is, will be viewed by many for the next 1,000 years as the great truth teller. He told a truth that nobody else would tell. They may build some statues to that. And so this is the message I'm putting out there. And no one has provided what I would call a substantive counter argument why that doesn't make any sense, doesn't add up. There's no basis for any of that. Not yet, but I'm open.
Okay, so there's always a lot of talk about false flags and all this kind of stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're seeing these strange earthquake swarms that are starting to happen on the planet. Multiple earthquakes in places that generally don't get earthquakes. But we have one thing that I wanted to throw at you, that when you're talking about putting this out there to maybe cover things up or possible false flag, and I've heard people call it this 3-eye atlas thing that they're not really sure what it is. Could this thing be the impetus for the current president, regardless of who it is, Trump, whoever, coming forward and saying, because this thing, from all the scientists I've seen and talked to and listened to, they are confused as hell. It's giving off CO2. There's no iron in it. It has some strange dust cloud surrounding it. They don't know what the hell this is. Could this be the thing that they want to put disclosure out there for and go, guys, this is something from another planet?
Well, let me just say this. First of all, the truth embargo, 80 years on now, almost 80 years on now, along with a whole lot of other behavior by our government, but other governments as well, has generated a very significant era of distrust worldwide. And I think the level of distrust and lack of confidence in the government by the American people is at a high watermark. It's just nobody wants to believe anything. And of course, with respect to this issue, they keep denying it in the face of obvious truths. And so everybody's kind of irritated. And so absent disclosure and starting to get some truth out, you're left on your own to kind of examine whatever the hell's going on. And since you haven't really, you don't, unless you got a lot of money to start up a major research organization or what have you, and overcome and get the funding, You can't get to the bottom of it. And so absent truth theory reigns. Okay? Absent truth theory reigns. And so everything that happens, and a lot of stuff has happened, is dealt with that way by the general public. This AI, I'm sorry, it's what the name of it again is?
3i Atlas.
Yeah, 3i. Great name, but I love this name, 3i Atlas.
Yep.
It is a transient object from outside of our solar system. Okay, so right away, it's not surprising at all that anything it does or anything it's composed of is not necessarily like some of the things that are in our solar system. It's another solar system. All right, so that doesn't motivate me much. But given the huge interest in the ET subject now, and a lot of people do believe they're from other stars, it's getting a lot of attention. That's okay. No problem. In fact, while I'm not on board with the attention, the conclusions, the point is that all the attention it is getting reflects the fact that huge numbers of people now are very much attuned to the idea we're not alone. There's stuff out there, and let's check this out, right? And so that's reflective of that we're winning, right? We're making progress, huge progress. So let me finish.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Here's what I think is going to happen. A lot of money's going to be made. A lot of podcasts are going to happen. A lot of articles will be written, and it's going to be cool, and it's going to be interesting and entertaining. And that object is simply going to go right on through. It's going to pass. It's going to do exactly what its orbit says, and it's going to leave and go away. And everybody's going to go, well, there you go. That said, if that object starts to slow down without a gravitational basis for that, if it starts to make a change of turns, right, without a gravitational explanation for that, then we are going to have a very interesting holiday season this year.
Well, I believe you when you say that we've made progress. However, I have to throw something at you from a friend of ours. I don't know if you're familiar with Raymond Szymanski, the author and researcher out of Wright-Patterson. He wrote the books Swamp Gas My Ass. And
I know the name, but it's been a long time since I've heard it.
Yeah, he's now a friend of ours, and we've had him on the podcast multiple times. And he sent me a message and said that he couldn't be here tonight to ask you this question, but he wanted me to ask it for him. So here's what he says. Can you pose this to Mr. Bassett for me? Over the last several months, I have asked the audience at my presentations how many of them have read any of the ODNI UAP reports. Out of 1,000 people, only a couple of dozen had ever even heard of those reports, and only about a handful actually read them. My impression is that the public really doesn't care about disclosure. What kind of impression is Mr. Bassett getting about disclosure from the public at large, and what are his sources for that data? And I've got a theory about that myself, but I'll let you take the floor.
Well, trying to judge the public awareness of this issue, which has been polled to death, and the polls get getting better and better and better. We need a new poll, by the way, with the right questions. Somebody call me. That is a real polling organization. Just don't get a couple of interns to tell you the questions. I'll give you the right questions. If the measure of the level of interest is based upon who has read the ODNI reports, that is not a particularly good test. It's like trying to test how much people care about general relativity by asking anybody who has read most of Einstein's original papers.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And see, to me, what I was thinking was, well, the reason that people are there at your presentations about the UFOs in 1966 and at other times here in Michigan is because they're already convinced. What do they care what the ODNI reports say? No.
The interest, you measure the interest by polling people. Are you aware? What do you think? And the level of awareness, the number of people that absolutely believe it's real is over 50. I think even that it's, I think that they're actually ET or non-human craft is almost at 50. I think the number of people that believe the government's not telling the truth has always been in the low 90s%. And some of these are worldwide polls. So I can assure you, and the fact that we've had 600 movies with ETs in them of some kind, or 600, many of which are the highest grossing movies ever that have been seen hundreds of billions of times in total views. The idea of non-humans out there is universally known. All right. So again, and then the number of people that are engaged in this issue that are following it, it's a pretty sizable thing. But you see, the truth is not a democratic process. You don't get to a truth by taking a vote. And if 51% of the people say it's true, it's true. No. If it's true, maybe only 0.1% of the people know about it. It's still true. But that's not where we're at. The public awareness is high. The amount of research is massive. And so I'm not worried about any confusion if this is finally confirmed. So I appreciate the gentleman's thinking on that, but I take a broad perspective on this. I try to view the big picture. I step back so I can see as much as possible. Not granular, but general. If you get into a particular area, you pick a spot, you can get a number of conclusions. But if you look at the broad picture, you get out of 30,000 feet. Disclosure is inevitable. We're making more progress than ever. And so just get ready. It's been delayed repeatedly. It's been interfered with. Absolutely. I have always tried to project possibilities. I never say it's going to happen on a certain date. If I even allude it might be a certain year, that's really a mistake. But I get razzed about that quite a bit. I get it. If you tell a reporter it could happen, they're going to say it is going to happen because that gets more readership. Okay. But right now we have a huge body of information about the process itself. We know which politicians are involved. We know the acts that are being put forward. We know what they've said on podcasts and to interviews. We have over 8,000 articles, public mainstream articles since 2017. I got them on my website. Go read all 8,000. It's not like we're operating a vacuum here. And of those 8,000 articles, you'll be lucky if you can find 1 out of 200 that's kind of a skeptical piece. They don't even, the skeptics are there, but they've pretty much been resigned to the social media, X, where, because more and more, if you write a skeptical article, a lot of places isn't going to bother to publish it because they just say, I'm sorry, we've moved on from that. But the internet will be the last refuge of the skeptics. Nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with skeptics per se. But let's just say that the skepticism on this issue, going all the way back to the beginning, has not been of the highest quality.
Yeah. So with your involvement in like podcasts like ours and in other shows out there, kind of on the smaller side and stuff, not Joe Rogan or Danny Jones or any of these guys, but what is your sense of if disclosure was to happen before the end of this year and Trump makes the announcement or Vance comes out, let's say something's going on with Trump, there's possible illnesses, whatever. Vance comes forward and says, this is it, guys. We're announcing that we are not alone for real. It's here. And we're going to try to open negotiations, yada, 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 whatever it might mean for them, right? They're going to want to talk and God knows what, or barter something. I don't know. I don't know what it means, but your sense of talking to people on podcasts and meeting people and things, General Joe Blow, what is their reaction? How is their life going to change? Do you think they just continue on, or are you going to have people with like existential life crises? What do you see?
These days, you don't need an existential life crisis to freak out. I mean, everybody's got a crisis right now.
I know we're both middle school teachers, so we freak out daily.
Like
so.
So again, there's always something causing people to freak out. That's so whatever. Another one. So what? I think the initial. Well, first of all, it better not be Vance. That would be a huge mistake. It needs to be the president. So if the president is incapacitated and he's taken over for the president, and he could do it, but then that's not good because he's usurped the president's legacy. And if I'm the president and the president's family and Vance steps in to take that legacy, I'm going to be really, really twisted up. Okay, so it's going to be. So I think initial reaction is going to be excitement. Lots of excitement. Okay, wow, finally. And then what are we going to know now? And everybody's going to be glued to their sets and watching, and the news is going to go nuts, and it'll just dominate all of the news media days, weeks, months. Okay, so you're going to have excitement. Okay, the initial reaction is going to be fear. It's going to be excitement. We've had plenty of time to be afraid. So you're not afraid by now. You're not going to get afraid just because the guy confirms what you probably already figured out. So excitement. And that will go on for a good while. The other thing that will be happening is that the disclosure process will be accelerated. If we already have a UAP Disclosure Act, well, it'll undoubtedly increase the flow in the pipeline, maybe reduce the likelihood of a postponement of something. In other words, the review panel may be less likely to postpone something because, hey, the cat's out of the bag. Let's move it on here, right? So that is the initial thing. Now, a lot of savvy people that are actualized people, always looking to what's happening next and how can I, take advantage of it, take advantage of that. People who got into crypto early, I didn't. They're going to be thinking ahead, what have you. That's fine. There's plenty of wins in the post-disclosure world. Plenty of money will change hands. Okay, I assure you. Anytime you have a paradigm shift, a lot of people can benefit. The ones that are paying attention. Will there be a lot of losers? I don't know. It's really mostly a positive thing. I don't know why someone would start losing money because we get disclosure. So the first months are going to be great. Plus, there's going to be hearings, tons of hearings.
Yeah,
and we're going to have interviews. Everybody is going to want to get interviewed because they don't want to be left behind, and so you won't have a problem getting an interview. Who do you want? I want the Speaker of the House. No problem, he's available. I want this scientist. I want that scientist. So you got interviews. It's dominating the news. Okay, right? Criminals who would normally get a lot of attention are not going to get any attention at all, and they're going to be, this is not right. I'm going to go to prison for life, and nobody gives a damn. I can't even get an interview here, right?
Right.
This will go on for months and months, and overall, it's going to be great. I'm going to be a very happy guy. Most of my colleagues, all of my colleagues, are going to be very happy, and we're going to enjoy. But we're also going to, because we're knowledgeable, we're going to start making moves, countless possibilities of how to engage the post-disclosure world. What I'm doing now is nothing compared to what needs to be done post-disclosure. So I have 100 more different things I might be able to do post-disclosure, and hopefully I can do something meaningful. No problem there. So we'll be doing that. Others will join in. That's just a simple glimpse of what will be probably the most intense period in human history, affecting the most people in the shortest amount of time. Nothing in the past will even come close. And then it'll start to sort out, and we'll start to see some threads emerging from the post-disclosure era, going here, going there, and we'll start making decisions about, should we do this, should we do that, how can we take advantage of this. Some people will try to twist it around and try to, I don't know,
always
go to the dark side, whatever, and hopefully we'll push back against that. And it'll take at least 2 years, I think, before things settle down, which is why I think if we do have disclosure this year, that the ETs will probably go open contact with us in 2027. And that's that year has been batted around, but not on my thinking. It's for other stuff going on. There's a lot of people that are really getting worked up about 2027. Works for me. I'll take it.
Well, before we let you go, I want to, do you got about 20 more minutes that you could hang out with us?
This is what I do, my friend. This is my
okay
job.
Awesome.
You want to go to midnight? We'll go to midnight, whatever.
We got to be up a few hours.
You got a life.
4 a.m.
But
it's okay. It's all right to have a life.
We want to field some questions from the audience. So if you guys are watching this, please make sure that you put your questions all in caps, and we will present those to Stephen. And we're going to start with this from Dorothy. in chat. She says, in what ways will humanity benefit from official disclosure? Economic, medicine, science, philosophy, religion? I guess that's a great question. I kind of had it here. So good one, Dorothy. Who benefits?
You can find a benefit in almost any area of interest, inquiry, all the things that humans are concerned about and can benefit. There's a way. There's one that may be a little harder to see the benefits, and that's religion. That is one of the tougher ones to see the benefits. I think there will be, and the best I could say about that. I mean, again, all those other going to benefit. Now, if you want to go through the details, man, we could be here for the rest of the evening. Let's just say with engineering and science, it's obvious. Okay. Economics, well, new technologies that completely transform stuff can generate a huge new economies and what have you. I mean, it's not that hard to find it. Important new technology, important new science should emerge out of the recesses of our underground bases or whatever the hell. And so it's not too hard. But again, books and books and books would be written about that. The one is religion. People say, well, where's the benefit to religion? It's a good point. I take you back, though, to a television series called V. Now, there have been two. The first one goes way back. It was not bad. And then they did a remake of V. I don't know. It's been 10 years or so, which isn't bad. The only problem I had with that is that the lead alien in V was this absolutely gorgeous woman who looked like she weighed about 120 pounds, like a runway model. And I'm saying, there's no way you're getting a reptilian alien in that human suit there. There's no way. There's no way there's a reptilian in there. But whatever. And so in the very first couple of episodes, when they finally get announced, as they get allowed, let me put it like, the announcement comes. And they have this scene with a priest and his chief, maybe associate priest, right? Number two guy. And they're in their offices, and this has all happened, and they're going, oh, man, people are going to be extremely upset, and it's going to challenge their whole belief system and so forth. And, we're out of business. And then they leave and they go in to give the sermon. And the church is packed from one end to the other with people. All right. Point. Religion is about helping people deal with the real world, which is really, really a tough place to be. It's not so tough for animals because they don't know better. Humans have got this unbelievable brain, which we completely abuse and don't use to the degree we should, capable of examining, thinking, and speculating on an unbelievable amount of stuff. And therefore, anything bad that happens, we're going to know it. Whereas, a mosquito, who cares? Your dog, yeah, you got what? We suffer in so many ways. Other animals are just so glad they're not us. And so that challenges their worldview. They get a little nervous. They go to church. Which is to say that religion is a fundamental component of the human's ability to cope with being human. And it has been going way back. When you were 200,000 years ago, I don't know if they had religion, but boy, life was tough. It didn't last long. And there's 1,000 ways to die. There was no painkillers. You broke a leg, you were dead because that was it. The first animal to find you. And that was going on for years. And then finally we started getting smart. And we came up with the ability to maybe push back against all this suffering and pain that we are experiencing and to explain it. And religion sort of evolves, I think, out of that early on, very long time ago. And it sort of works. And it eventually evolves to the point where it becomes a formalized way for humans to come together and see if they can find a way to actually stop some of this stuff, right? In other words, why are we all killing each other? Why don't we not do that? Why do we have to be violent? Why don't we be at peace? Why don't we find another way so that we all don't have to suffer? And so forth. And so it gets more and more sophisticated. And as humans got better and better at building weapons, the need for it was greater and greater. I mean, it's not like they never got a break. The moment they thought things might chill out, somebody invented another weapon and took over the whole country, killed everybody. For those who were living kind of in a peaceful rural area in Central and East Asia, they thought they were in good shape. Genghis Khan came and killed 42 million of them, just because it was better to do that. Right?
Yeah.
He has a now giant metal statue out there somewhere in Mongolia, and the rest of them are dust in the wind. And so religion has been around a long time for a very powerful reason. And so if the ET turn up, people are not going to turn away from it. They're going to turn to it, to the extent that it upsets them. All right, to the extent that it unnerves them. But if the ETs are not torturing them or something, or making their life bad, directly making their life awful, eventually they'll go, well, I don't know, I don't really see anything I have to worry about. I mean, there may be some other stuff going on. So I'm not too worried about it. So, but will it make it better? Interesting point. Man, I am not a religious person, so I'm the last person to say anything about that, except that one quote that came out of the Vatican about, 20 years ago, when they were challenged on this issue, and they have many times, and they're totally on board. The Catholic Church is on, they're ready. Okay. The one Pope, I think it was, he came out and when asked about this, he said, well, we'd be happy to baptize them, and it would confirm to me that God's universe, God's creation is grander than we knew. Yep. And I'm going, well, that's great. So if you feel that makes religion better, there you go.
Yeah, I heard it put kind of that way by another kind of a Christian researcher, but also very much into these, into the UAP and extraterrestrial phenomenon. He tied everything to a spiritual, angels are this and that, you know how it goes. But what he said was, if it does prove out to be true, who are we to say that God didn't create life on other places? How dare we try to limit an omniscient, grand all creator? We only an arrogant race of humans would do that. So, but we've got another question for you here. Mm-hmm. Were the TR-3Bs backward engineered in the 70s? Do you know?
Well, they had a crash vehicle 47. They may have had another crash vehicle from Magenta, Italy, that they got around the same time. So that's 23 years. Well, it could be almost 25, 28 years. I'm inclined to think the TR-3Bs were, in fact, re-engineered versions of anti-gravity. Yes. They couldn't put in a saucer because those saucers are, what I've been told by people that have encountered them, that they actually apparently been inside of them, is that they're amazing. It's like you just don't pull out a reactor set and build a saucer. The techniques that built it probably way beyond us. But the concept, they might have been able to get the concept of anti-gravitics from it. But then the question is, they had to build their own kind of engine, but it was going to be bigger, and they couldn't put it in the saucers. They put it in a triangle. I'm leaning that way. I'm dying to find out the ultimate truth. We'll probably find out post-disclosure exactly what were our vehicles, what were theirs, and nothing. I mean, after disclosure, what the hell? Why do we care? And that'll be cool. And then the people that made it, if anything's still living, they'll come forward and say, hey, I made some of the early anti-gravity vehicles from tech we took from one of those saucers. I'm a pretty smart dude, and all my friends are whatever, right? Yeah, so it could be. Exactly. It makes some sense because the way they flew, but then they could be a triangular-based ET craft. There's no way not to know. The craft of the ETs, there's some variety, so you can't be sure.
Okay.
All right. I've got one because I was talking about this earlier about Matt Lohmeyer in chat.
Yeah.
Do you believe Space Force was created in 2019 by Donald J. Trump in part to bring disclosure during his next term?
Ooh.
I don't think so. Everybody, they'd wanted a Space Force for a while. Space Force means more money. And of course, they are worried about space. I assure you, the basis for a war in space is right there. Okay, they've already been talking about it. Satellite killers, you name it. And so if there hasn't been an ET anywhere, they would still have a Space Force. And, Donald Trump being Donald Trump, if he wanted a Space Force, you're going to have it. Even if you didn't want it, And maybe he was somebody they went to. He said, yeah, fine. And so they did it. I do not think it was connected to a plan for disclosure. I can't rule it out, but more logically, it was kind of the standard thing. We need another force. Okay, you got it.
One of the questions, we got kind of a funny question I want to end with, but on a serious note, how are things going with your Hollywood Alliance program? What has been coming of that? I totally forgot to ask you about that earlier, because I find it fascinating, the people you have involved in that. So I would want you to talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's been I've had some success in a few things, but Dan Harari, a publicist based in Hollywood, approached me and had an idea, and I totally backed it. Why? Oh God, we got to do this, because I tried to do something along those lines way back in 2012. It was called the ET Media Group. In any event, the idea was to create a nonprofit networking entity so that people on the film side or content creators would have much more access to and be able to find people on the UAP side, the ones that have been doing all the work all these years, and work together to get the content right and create cool stuff, because the demand for content in the subject is going to explode. Right? And it's not been easy, right? If you're trying to do a doc on this thing, you're not going to have some big time producer call you up in Hollywood because it's UFO stuff. I don't want to touch that.
Right.
And so we came up with the idea for the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. It's very similar to another very successful organization that's had millions of dollars of funding called the Environmental Media Association, EMA, and you can find that. And there's all kinds of movie stars involved. And they were networking Hollywood with the huge environmental movement. Okay, we are a very smaller version of that. We're connecting Hollywood to the film industry with the UAP world. And so it's simple. We have a board, 7 people. We have 230. It's been only 1 year, less than a year. We have 227 founding members. 102 are what we call UAP founding members, and 120, I think, 26 are Hollywood founding members, which means content creating members. And they're up on the site in their 2 respective areas with a photo and a bio. And so what does that mean? It means these people are into the issue, and they're willing to put their bio and their photo up on a site that is trying to serve this issue, which means I'm good. Come talk to me. All right. And they have an extremely easy way to connect. And then people outside that are not a member of the HDA can still go to the site and they can see who they might want to connect with. And so it's creating, it's just creating a whole bunch of networking, which is how stuff gets done. It's the only organization of its kind. Let's see, what I was going to say. We have occasional events. We're going to have one soon. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. So far, nobody with some big money has fallen in love with us. But I think we're worthy of a significant contribution. That's all right. No. We're talking UAP issue here, folks. So, but somebody could drop $50,000 on us tomorrow, given the fact that the number of millionaires floating around in Hollywood is a rather large number. And then we could do a lot more. But we are doing well. 227 members in about 10 months. And they pay $50 in dues, or it's basically a $50 donation a year to get a chance to maybe make a project that could make them lots of money. And it is free in that sense. And we don't take a piece of any action. We're just a networking entity. And the people that are in it, I mean, it's not open membership. If you have a relatively substantive career in filmmaking or content creation or whatever, and you're into the subject, probably you're a member. If you're into the ET issue substantively, there's a number of ways, then probably you could be a member. If you're just interested in the subject, no. No disrespect. But that doesn't mean that you can't benefit from going to that site, because you may not be eligible to be in the damn thing, but you got an idea you want to do. And so you go, and you go see somebody in the Hollywood side and say, get in touch with them. If you want to get in touch with a member, but you're not a member, just contact me or Dan Harari, and we'll arrange for the connection. If you're in the HDA site you can contact anybody you want. It will. We just provide it to you right away, and you just contact them. So that HJ has been successful, and we hope it could grow substantially. And I'm very pleased with that. The other thing that's happened of note is that after 27 years, I was a sole proprietorship for reasons. Okay. There were reasons. Nobody could come and ask me and demand to know what I'm doing, demand to know I'm talking to, none of that. I was independent of, certain, in other words, just a more independent operation. However, that had to end. Knowing that disclosure was getting closer, major deals were coming, I converted to a 501c3 last year. So now I'm a nonprofit 501c3. There's 3 directors, myself, Danny Sheehan, and Paul Heineck. So pretty well-known individuals. And so I'm hoping to raise money so I can do more things. And it's not easy. But nevertheless, I'm doing what I can. That the number one project that's on my list is the 7th X Conference. I held 6 of them in the between 2004 2010. They were all pretty successful. The last one was held at the National Press Club. I held a press conference at the press club after every one. I want to do X Conference 2026 next year, first quarter, I think. Completely at the press conference. The hotel will be the Washington Plaza. But this for me to do this, I can't just bootstrap it. I've got to be able to secure the dates at the press conference, which means I got about a $20,000 bar that I have to clear, or I cannot secure the dates. If I cannot secure the date, I cannot begin the promotion and work. So that's what I'm going for now. If I can get up to 20,000, that will be the next project. Meanwhile, I'm working with the State of the World Forum, which is another major project in the works. It's going to have some ET components. You can find that at stateoftheworld.forum. I'm working with the New Paradigm Institute, of course. Danny Sheehan's, he's the head of the New Paradigm Institute. They have a board. They're a nonprofit. And I'm working with them. And other things. Try to keep busy. Mostly I'm not trying to get on the Hill. The other number one project that I'm in right now, which is having some success, is, and this has been a commitment I've had for a long time. I am determined before I leave this planet that I'm going to help get the witnesses to the shutdown of the nuclear weapons back in 66, 67.
Oh, yes.
There have been other events, but the witnesses are not available that I'm aware of, or they're dead. And also Robert Jacobs, if possible, because he's a witness to a different kind of nuclear weapon tampering, which was the fiddling around with the warhead.
The test launch.
And the film. He took the film, so he's firsthand taking the film, saw the film.
Yep.
And a couple of people, including Grush, have said they've seen the film, but believe me, I haven't seen the light of day yet. But that would be an interesting film to show at a hearing. I'm trying to get them in front of the Congress. So in that sense, I've done some progress. Every office of the Senate Intel Committee has 2 hard copies of their witness statements and an electronic copy, as well as links to interviews. And they've done several, including 2 press conferences. Every office of the House subcommittee has got those affidavits and witness statements. And that includes Burleson, who I personally delivered those to, and he's aware of it. I talked with Nancy Mace about it. She was interested, though she kind of stepped back. So they're in play. It's just a matter of who will call them to testify. They're ready to testify tomorrow. They've been having trouble getting witnesses because they get a little skittish. These guys would have flown to Washington the next day. Okay, so they're in play. But when will they come out? Well, here's a little side thing that you can chew on. I contend that most of which have died out, at least in terms of the SAC-based officers, the silo commanders. I contend that these witnesses to the shutdown of those weapons are the most significant witnesses on this issue, and the ones that the Department of Defense is absolutely terrified could ever testify under oath. And that is why they have ghosted them for almost, the entire from what was this 66 on? Well, certainly since 94 on, 30 years, 36
Absolutely.
years. And why am I being ghosted? They didn't do anything to them, and they didn't try to disgrace them or anything. They just pretended they didn't exist. And as far as anybody was concerned, they didn't exist, and it kind of worked. But they did.
Yeah, just ignore the witnesses.
So they ghosted them, and they've been succeeding to kind of, but we've been moving them forward. And so they were getting really up there. And then all of a sudden, the Department of Defense made a last gasp, desperate attempt to stop the inevitable. To their disgrace, and they've had so many disgraces, it's sad.
Yeah.
Here's what they tried to do. They knew that Salas had been up on the hill. They knew that the witness statements were out. I probably knew what I was doing, though they probably didn't care. He's nobody, what the hell. And so they panicked. And so, as near as I can tell, they contacted the Wall Street Journal and said, there's all this stuff going on with this issue. Would you like to come in and talk with some inside people on the subject that are knowledgeable? Give you a nice article there. And so the Wall Street Journal, of course, they said absolutely. And so they sent 2 national security reporters to interview a bunch of people inside. I think they took a couple months, 2 or 3 months. And he also interviewed Bob Salas. I know that because I'm the one that gave the reporter the contact information.
Ah.
And so they interviewed Bob Salas. And I just forgot about it. And then not too long ago, the articles dropped, 2 of them. And the first one, boy, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be anybody attached to that piece. Here's what they did. The article this is Wall Street Journal, right? Big time. Of course, on the net as well. The first half of the article was a lame attempt to try to just shut a lot of stuff down, because it turns out so much of what everybody was reporting and seeing and everything else, including pilots, whatever, it was us. They weren't just mistaking something we were doing for being non-human. We were deliberately creating stuff to make them think it was non-human, right? We're just because we're doing this because we need.
Right.
And so that was the first half of the article, and whoever was in charge of this little project got a little carried away and decided to add a cherry on the top of that shit Sunday. And it was that some of the stuff that was being reported by certain pilots was in fact not true, but the pilots didn't know it because we told them some things that had happened as kind of a way to mess with them. And they actually used the word hazing in the article. Like the government, the Air Force was conducting a kind of fraternity prank.
Right.
And now if I'm a pilot that maybe been on the end of that, I would not be happy. But in any event, hazing. So this first half of the article is just a most asinine piece of nonsense. And I don't know who greenlit it. What was it? The publisher? Was it Murdoch? I don't know who the hell it was. Anyway, the point is that was the first half. The second half, which is really what this is about, had one goal: undermine the nuclear weapon shutdown thing and disgrace Bob Salas. And the only reason they did that because they knew he was getting close to coming to DC and testifying. And so what they did is they said, oh, we know what happened on those shutdowns. So Bob Salas got it wrong. I'm sure it was an honest mistake, but he has been pushing it for 30 years. So, we think he's cashing in, whatever, right? Because he's done 3 books. There was a documentary. Robert Hastings wrote a definitive research book and so forth. They're all cashing in. Here is what really happened. We did a huge EMP experiment back then, not only at Minot, but Malmstrom, testing to see if we could turn off the missiles with it by EMP thing. Because, it's possible to generate an EMP thing with a nuclear weapon. So let's say a bomb goes off over the base and it's an EMP bomb and it can shut down the missiles. I'm thinking if a bomb goes near the base, it's probably too late to use the missiles, because why use an EMP? Why not just use a regular nuke bomb? The point is that that's the explanation. Okay, now the problem with this is, one, the tech really wasn't at that level then. The device would have had to have been huge, and they actually said they made this huge device, And that's what the security guys mistook for some sort of thing flying over the base. And I'm going, wait a minute. They stated they saw a glowing huge thing over the base. You're saying you built a non-glowing device not too far away, and they mistook that. And then there's the problem. If they really would have put an EMP of the size that could remotely turn those missiles off, which they probably couldn't even do, it would have been shutting out stuff for miles in all directions. Right. And then the cherry and the cake for me, probably was me, is that one of the researchers that actually investigated the Malmstrom case as regards the potential for an EMP explanation called me up and said, hell, we dismissed that option in the first 48 hours.
Right.
And so it was all a complete lie. Blatant lie, obvious lie. And so, okay, they'll have to answer for it eventually, but there's been so much of that kind of crap, and most people are going to say, who cares? But that is gives you a sense of the games that are being played. It is back and forth. It is a big of a tug, a tug of one of those tug of wars. You win some, you lose some. But the thing you need to know is that on our side, we have a cogent, organized process moving forward. On the other side, you basically have acts of desperation.
Well, I do want to tell you, if you do get that thing set up for the X conference, if you get that set up for 2026, let us know, and we'll definitely promote it for you. And I'm sure we're probably going to be sending you an email here probably before the end of September to get you back on here because of everything that's going on, and I want to talk to you more about the current events and the current states of things. So with all that being said, I want to leave you with this question. If you could travel to another galaxy, if Earth is about to be destroyed, this comes from Cosmic Joe's Chronicles, would you?
Well, you don't need the Earth to being destroyed. If a craft lands down tomorrow out in the mall, and I get this message in my head, come to the mall. I cruise on over there. There it is, right? Semi-cloaked. And ET walks out and says, Steve, you've done a lot of work. Would you like to come with us and see some interesting things? I'm on that ship so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I am on there. I'm putting my seatbelt on and ordering snacks.
And right? I'm going to be yelling at them to teach me how to fly this thing. That's what I want to do. And I want to know how it works. I want to know how it flies. Stephen,
before we go, there's something I want to mention here. Because I know some of the people might be listening tonight don't know this. Okay. Not that you haven't brought it up. I know you have. But again, you get new listeners all the time or viewers.
Sure.
Michigan is a very important state for a number of reasons, right? One of the most important reasons is an extraordinary sighting that took place in Michigan many, many years ago. All right. And that sighting not only was important, but one, it led to the congressman from Michigan at the time, Gerald Ford, to actually really make a very substantial case that they needed to have a hearing, and they did, right? We owe that to Gerald Ford. And that was, I think, the case. It might have been the first case, but it was certainly one of the early cases in which Dr. J. Allen Hynek was brought in. And he was the one that, in all good faith, he was trying to do the best he could. And he happened to mention the swamp gas as a possible explanation, which also had a huge impact. Eventually, J. Allen Hynek realized that the Blue Book was not legit. He turned away from it, and of course went on to become one of the great researchers in this field with a huge presence, right? Which gets interesting further because before I got in this field, in about, I forget what year it was, but it might have been the 80s. I think it was the 80s. I went to my one and only MUFON lecture because I wanted to take a date to something different. And it was in Colorado, in Gun Barrel. And I went to it. This is what they were sent then. And the speaker came in and spoke. I didn't know who it was. It was J. Allen Hynek. And he gave a fine lecture, though it was clear that he was struggling a little bit, right? That it was a little hard. Whatever reason, no big deal. And then I left, not knowing that, maybe 7-8 years later, I would actually make the decision to spend the rest of my life doing this. And he died shortly after that. he was still giving lectures virtually up until the point that he died of brain cancer. And of course, I then remembered that once I got in the field and went back to it. And it's also, to take it a little further, I got to meet his son at one of the Ancient Aliens conferences. And we have since become good friends. He's on my board of directors, one of the coolest guys I know. He's brilliant. All of Heinrich children are brilliant. His brother Joel is a Oscar winner and so forth. We're trying to get him in the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. Okay. So got a real connection there back to Michigan. And it's very important that Michigan has a podcast. And so keep the faith.
Apparently, I just happened one day to Google our podcast, or I just Googled Michigan UFOs, and it popped up the top UFO show or podcast in Michigan about UFOs and paranormal is our show. I'm like, what? What is
Have
going
you ever
on?
had Paul Heineck on? You've had Paul Heineck on, right?
No.
Oh, you got to have Paul Heineck on. Can I help you?
I got to reach out to him.
Well, I'll reach out to him first. And
Okay.
tell him to, that you might get a call from him and give him the promo. I think he'll do it. I mean,
I'll send you my phone number. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll send you my phone number and you can pass it on. Absolutely.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the evening. It's been great. Thank you.
Oh, this has been awesome. And like I said, we're going to be in touch soon. I am very sure about that as we get toward the end of September.
Okay.
So
very good.
Between watching what's going on with 3-Eye Atlas, September 9th.
The meetings. Oh man. It's going on.
And next time I'm on, Michelle, don't talk so much.
She likes doing her chat moderation.
I'm having a joke. It's fun.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Stephen. It's been a great evening, and we will talk to you soon.
Ad Astra.
Okay. Take care. Whoop. There we go. Okay. Wow.
Felt like I was getting picked on by a family member for a second.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So what an amazing evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Wow. I mean, I think we were up to 130 people at one point.
129.
Yeah, geez.
So that
Stephen's always great when he's on too. So, and he nailed it tonight. And man, thanks everybody for joining us. What a pleasant surprise.
It was a great night in chat.
Yeah, great night. Great people in chat. Doyle, we've got your information, but make sure you talk to MUFON. You're experiencing something very interesting, and make sure you talk to them. So thanks everybody. Make sure you go and you check out Stephen's group. They're called the Paradigm Research Group, and you can find them at paradigmresearchgroup.org. And there you can get in contact with him and see all the projects and stuff that they're working on. But Michelle, do you want to tell people how to contact us?
Yep. You can email us at mi.ufo.podcast@gmail.com.
Correct. And also, if you want to support the podcast, you know how to do that with PayPal Super Chats. You can go to our merchandise store. You can join Patreon. All those links are found down in that show
check
description.
out the new website too.
Yep. Check out the new website. There's a link to the new website. It's still a work in progress, but we're playing with things, and it
Wayne's
allows
been
us
busy.
I've been busy, and it allows us to live stream right to a website. So if you don't want to deal with chat, or you just want to watch us through a website, you can do that. And it has links to all of our shows and all of our podcasts over the last 5 years on Spotify, iTunes. I mean, it's just a record of everybody and everything we've done since we started this in 2021. So speaking of podcasts, right? So where can you find us? Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, among others. And there's some new ones out there too. So
thank you, Diane, for the super chat.
Yep. And before we go, we need to thank everybody. Diane, for the $5 super chat. You are amazing. You are a rock star. And we also had was it Kelly Lewis who renewed?
What was it? 17
months as a member. 17 months as a member.
Been around
So
for a while now, Wayne.
I think pretty much from when we started. So,
It's
all right,
over
everybody,
4
it's going to be a
years.
it's going to be an early morning for us tomorrow as we start the 4-day week with the children's, and I get my first students tomorrow. So,
and I'm going into round 2.
and you're starting week 2
My
already. I'll be starting week 1 tomorrow with the 8th graders teaching science. So, all right. Oh, look at that. Diane is now a member for 23 months. She is the goat. She is the greatest
She's
of all
our
times.
OG.
Yeah, she is the OG. All right, everybody. With that being said, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. You guys were awesome. Show coming up this Sunday. I think I can honestly say it's not up on the website yet or anything, but Benny's coming back for round 3.
You gotta talk that we already said it was going to be a part 3.
There's a part 3 coming with Benny Foggin next weekend. Should be our normal time.
Cryptid talk.
We got cryptid, Bigfoot, alien talk. There's a lot that he didn't get into that he needs to get off of his chest and talk to everybody about. So next week, be watching. Make sure you hit that the bell icon too when you subscribe to the channel, so you get notifications when we're going live. Okay. But yeah, I'll be putting that all together tomorrow evening, and that's when the audio podcast should come out as well. So with that being said, Michelle,
have a great night, everyone.
Have a great night. And remember, keep those eyes to that sky.
No joke.
No joke at all.